Hi, we're back. Steve's Giant Pumpkins at Hematitehomestead, July 7th. The fruits have been chosen. I got some good things going on. I got some not so good things going on. Let's go check them out. Slide in here by my control center. Box keeps lots of pumpkin goodies in it. I found a little bit of algae getting in my totes. So I wrapped this up in some extra grow fabric that I had laying around. I think that'll serve the same purpose as those fancy tote covers, and we'll do the same thing to these two tanks. They're not too terrible shape. I do have a little bit of algae in here, and we'll get that cleaned out and get it covered up and try and prevent that from happening anymore. While I'm here, I had a check valve failure and it burned up my pump, which is thrown over in that pile of stuff. This is the pump I used last year. I quit using it because it overheats and shuts down after about 20 minutes. I don't understand why. I cannot figure that out, but it's going to have to do for now. Alright, let's start off with this one. I hadn't showed you guys this at all. This is the 2030 Tobeck. This plant got wrecked by the windstorm totally. It was only about 6 to 8 feet long. Pulled it all the way up out of the ground except for the crown and flipped it upside down. I tried to get it laid back and it hasn't got the attention it needs, mainly because I spend most of my time up here. So it's going to be what it's going to be. I do have a fruit set on it. It's a pretty small square footage plant. I got the crown covered with the fan in it. It was way overgrown in weeds, and I found some morning glory in here too, and I actually got ahead of it. Caught it in time for it, overran the plant. Found an issue with the main vine, a little split in it, but looks like it healed up just fine. It was everything was wet in here, so I got the fan underneath there blowing on that, and I had a fruit right in there, so on the secondary, and here's what it looked like right here. It was bee pollinated. I couldn't guarantee that it was from this green squash, so it definitely didn't want to grow it, but it's we've moved on for that. It's going to be pig food. Alright, so I'm going to let these, I think I mentioned in an earlier video, I lost the growing tip on this within a week of transplant, so I was lucky enough to still have a viable secondary on that young plant, and that's what turned into the main, and all this would have been tertiary growth is now secondary growth. It was a good learning experience for me. Never ran into that before. Alright, so I'm going to let these vines come on out to here, probably right to the edge of this board here. Here's my giant field pumpkins in here. I don't want to get into them, so right to the edge of that board here. So they've probably got another 6 to 8 feet to go there. Down here we got a little bit more room. I'm curling these guys in here, and I'm going to run them right up to the edge of this house and let them fill in this area right up to my tomato plants down there. I'm not a very good tomato plant grower, but they've been neglected. They got 2 laying on the ground over there. I need to get fixed. I do have some nice mega blooms and a couple of fruit set actually. So both of these are the 655 rotoballs, and those down there are the 3.94 Jason Lorises. I also have one of these growing over by the house. Also has a fruit set on that. So we'll see what we get. It's first time ever for me, so we'll get what we get and be happy with it and learn from it. Alright, back to the 2030 Tobecks. I stick on the sides here just to keep it dry during the heat of the day. They're all clamped on here. I just drop these top clamps and let it droop down and get some fresh air going through here. This girl will be 20 days old on July. Whoops. She'll be 20 days old on July 12th, so we got a little bit of time left before we do any measuring on her. But she is growing. 5 load pollinated with this plant, so it's a self. Stem back there looking long and pretty. No issues there. I got mine pretty high up in the ground out there, and I got all these pull foam things holding it up, cushion. So more to come on this plant later. It'll be what it is. I've never grown a green before, and I almost gave up on this plant and yanked it out of the ground, but I didn't, and there we go. Alright, the 1965 and a half rotoball. This is pollinated with the 2266 Cosmore, which used to be down there, is gone from the patch now. Did pollinations here and back here on the 150. So everything growing is pollinated with males from the 2266 Cosmore. I got 4 secondaries here that I'm going to bring right down to this walk board. Maybe a little bit further. I might come down to the sawhorse and then we'll terminate those. Same thing over here. Oh, wait a minute. That's 5 over here. I got 4 over here still growing. They won't get as much space. They're going to get to come down here to about where this T-post is. So they got about 3-4 more feet to go here. So how about let's look at this fruit. She's 22 days old today. Turn off this fan. The same thing in here. This is actually the white grow fabric that I used outside. I put it up to keep sunlight out here. I got some sheets hung and in curtain modes. I've taken down the one over here. In the evening I'll swap them to the direction the sun's in. I got one back here in the back. And yeah, 22 days old. This fruit is already checking personal best boxes. It is the earliest pollination I've ever had on June 15th, and is the heaviest 20-day fruit I've ever had. Estimated 134.2 pounds on day 20. It has significantly grown in the last 2 days. I'm really itching to put the tape back on it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to measure every 5 days. Alright, when I first set this up, I tried to keep the main. You remember this thing was growing on the bottom of the vine, and the main kind of rubbed in here a little bit. It is healing up nicely. I don't know what that is. I'm not really worried about it. The quality, if you remember from last year, did that, but I didn't catch it in time or early enough, and it put a huge gouge in it that it lived with the rest of its life. But I think this is going to be just fine. It's going to be okay. A little short, stubby stem back here. No real issues on that. I got a little bit of slack in the vine. I'm going to have to start popping those really soon because this was on the main, underneath the main. I had to terminate the main, and I'll have to keep a close eye on it and start popping nodes. Right now I'm okay, but I would say within the next 2 to 3 days I'm going to be popping that node out of the ground. And it is what it is. It's got to be done. So all the other fruit on this plant are gone. Actually, the very next day after I posted my last video, I came in here and set this thing up, cut the main, got rid of the rest of the fruit, and basically made the decision because this was 11 days old at that point in time. I didn't want to give up 11 days. All right, moving right next door to the 1707 Caspers, and got fruit pollinated right here. Again with the 2266 Cosmore. We'll take a look at it in a second. It is on a secondary. I was very aggressive and giving that secondary plenty of slack to not have to worry about it again the rest of the season. Put a little crack in it. It's healing up good. I'm not really worried about it right now. One thing that was a huge concern for me is, this plant was like right here, the windstorm. Got dormant on me, sat here for 2 weeks, not doing nothing, then started growing out, and it was extremely funky. Big, thick secondary vines, and they were having 2 to 3 tendrils, 2 to 3 secondaries, 2 to 3 tertiaries, 2 to 3 flowers, 2 to 3 pumpkins on every single leaf node. Been trimming all that off as I go down here. I did some research on mosaic disease. I thought maybe that's what I had going on. I don't think that's what it was. Might be a little bit heavy on nitrogen maybe. So I backed off with the nitrogen. I thought that wasn't the problem because all the plants are getting the exact same treatment. I'm not seeing that on any other plant. But I have backed off with the calcium nitrate and upped my CalMag in its place. We'll see if it improves any. With that being said, this plant is 100% terminated. I felt like I was fighting a battle on all these vines, and it was time to put it to bed and get to growing this fruit. So Yeah, this plant 100% terminated. Every secondary, the main, everything. Snipped off. I'm done dealing with the funky vines. And just gonna root in these last couple tips here that I got going on and go with it. All right, I'm gonna sneak in here. I didn't set up my walkboards very good for this girl. Sneak in here and take a peek. This fan turned off. All right, there she is. So she estimated at 20 days old. She's 21 today. Measured her yesterday. Estimated 99.3 pounds. So smaller than the rotoball fruit I got going over, but still growing and healthy. And that's really all I care about. After all the issues I've had on this plant. Here's where I kinked the vine, put a little crack in it. Looks okay. I got a fan blowing on it. I'm not really worried about it. Mainly because the fruit's still growing, and you know it's a dumb mistake, but mistake was made, and hopefully we can overcome it and get this girl on scale. All right, so there's the 1707 Caspers, 1707 and a half Caspers. Hopefully it'll bounce back out of this funk it's been in and start growing. Like I said, the fruit is growing, so that, you know, I think I'm okay. Crowns on both of these are covered with fans on them, keeping them nice and dry. I like to keep them covered, keep them dry. We'll go back there and look at giant field pumpkins. This has also been an ongoing battle for me. This is the second time around for these. The heat just zapped everything I had in here. I had 4 235 Razos in here. Heat zapped them all, killed them. Then I replanted. I had backups already that were supposed to go over in another part of the property. You know, I was pushing for state record. I wanted to grow a lot of them and try and get that, but they had to come over here. So I had 3 235 Razos in here and the 268 bags right here. And I left the fence open on patch one night, and something came in and ate one of them. Thankfully, they only ate one. So now I'm down to 2 235 Razos and still the 268 bags. And these things, man, they are moving so slow. It's just too daggone hot. You can see them flagging a little bit now. I'm going to get these covers put back on them. This is basically a hog panel that I just bent over. And this is the old pole cover that we repurposed last year. Provide some shade for them. And I've been putting those on and off of these plants multiple times a day. This one here is finally trying to do something. Even the plant beside it, this one I lost in the heat, but it's not going away yet. So I'm going to keep it there for a little longer. But, man, start growing already. Daggone. So am I going to get a Virginia state record field pumpkin out of these? Maybe not, but maybe I will. Long ways to go yet. Alright, we're at the crown of the 1707 and a half Caspers. I got a little bit of grass to get caught up on here. That's what I've been working on this morning, mainly in this area here. I already cleaned up down there pretty good. I got some more down in here and this back here. I should be all caught up on the grass removal. Here's the crown, as I mentioned, the fan blowing on it. And I'm pretty happy with this. This is way bigger than the rotoball crown. About like that. Alright, and last but not least, the 150 square foot plant. The 1631 and a half Casimir. This also pollinated with the 2266. Take a peek underneath the canopy. This is not perfect, but by far my cleanest plant. Alright, got a fruit set behind underneath of this red guy here. I'm going to go and put a sheet over top of the fruit. I'm not going to close this in. This area right here gets plenty of natural shade from the trees. Once the sun's right over top of us right now, it's right at noon. About another hour and a half, it'll be on the other side of these trees and gives us plant a nice bit of shade, and that's probably why it looks like it's doing way better than any of the other plants. I'm fully filled in, fully terminated. I brought one secondary and one tertiary all the way up the end there, weaving it in and out. And on this side, I just terminated all the secondaries up along the border fence. One thing I did not take into consideration on this plant in the least, not at all, is how in the world am I going to get this fruit out of here. So that's something I got a couple months to figure out. Let's take a look at the fruit. All right, what in the world is this doing here? Well, let me show you. All right, so there's a look at the fruit. It'll be 20 days old in, and I want to say 4 days. I don't remember off the top of my head. All right, here's why the blower's on it. I'm trying to separate from the main vine. I have given it some slack and repositioned it and got this blower blowing right on there. It's just now starting to heal up. I think it's going to be okay, but definitely going to impact the growth of this fruit. But with that being said, it's a 150 square foot patch. I've never grown 150 square foot before, so we're going to get what we get. Also, so I mentioned last time we looked at it, I didn't set it up very well, so I'm definitely going to be pulling nodes early and often. I already took that one up. I culled the fruit that was there. I didn't have the issue that this one had, but it was in a horrible place. There's no way I could have set it up to grow and be able to come in and care for it. There's another peek under the canopy going back towards the main. This is the only plant that I don't have the main stump crown area covered. I may go back and put a chair over top of that because I do want to put a fan on it. No sand or foam board on this just because I'm already pulling nodes and I didn't want to lift it up any higher off the ground. So I just got 2 sheets of mill fabric, smaller sheet here it's growing on top of another sheet, and hopefully it'll just push this sheet as it grows. Alright, so that's where I'm at in the patch on July 7th. Long way to the scale. This year I will not be harvesting fruit to go to a particular way off. The fruit are going to decide when they go to a way off. There are a couple way offs I will definitely attend with or without fruit in hand. But the fruit are going to dictate where they go to get on the scale, hopefully at their heaviest point. But thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you check us out the rest of the season, see what we do with these guys, and we will see you next time.